Hey there, it's John Barton from JB Cases. So it's Halloween 2019. So I thought I might tell you guys a scary story. This story, like so many others this past year, involves knockoffs. You know, those cases that attempt to look like ours, but they don't build them like ours, so they're very possibly damaging to your queue. So, to save a little bit of money, these knockoff guys will offer you their knockoff cases for a fraction of our price. And if anything happens to your queue, so what? It's on you. $200 repair, $500 repair, $1,000 repair, queue broken beyond repair. All those things are possible in a case that's not well built. And sometimes when they copy us, they even manage to make the case more dangerous than if it had no padding whatsoever. This is because neither side of the equation here, for getting them made, the importer who's knocking us off or the manufacturer who's making them, neither side really truly understands anything about queue protection. And sometimes, they might have a little bit of what I taught them, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, but they've never evolved. So they don't study the field, they don't know. So anyway, a lot of people think, though, that I am against copying. I'm not against copying. I'm not, Copying is how we all exist. It's the reason we're here. Each one of us is a genetic copy of someone else. That's how nature works. And it's how we work as humans when we create stuff, right? So I can never be against someone copying us just because they see us with success or they see people liking the looks that we're building and stuff like that. That's just natural, There's innovators, there's imitators, right? People are going to make their money any way they can. Some people they have this creative drive. They want to build something new. They want to build something the world's never seen before. Or they want to make something better than anything that's ever been before. That's kind of me. I'm kind of that way. But you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, though, that's not necessarily the best way to make a lot of good money. It's actually a risky way to do it because of the fact that imitators, the guys that wait for the good ideas, they wait to see what's successful, and then they jump in with something similar looking that is cheaper. Rarely is it as good or better than. So, there's another term called immovator, which is an imitator that innovates, on top of whatever he's copying. And there are some of those people, but not in the billiard industry, really. So in the billiard industry, a lot of these people, especially in the case field, they're just straight up copiers. They're straight up knockoff artists, and they don't give a shit about your cues. They really don't. Which is surprising because one of them, for example, is a purported cue dealer with high end cues, but he'll sell you a cue or a case that he probably wouldn't trust his own cues in. He certainly wouldn't trust them in the same sort of demonstrations that we do. I've thrown my own case around many times. I've thrown it, high in the air in my booth and let it flip end over end and land on the floor. I've slammed it to the floor. I've tried every which way. The only thing I haven't done is I've jumped on it. I have jumped on it many times. I haven't taken a bat to it. That's about it. In the booth. So I'm willing to bet that this guy won't allow me to do the same things to his case with about the same value in cues in it as I have in my case. So if we're ever at a show together, anybody wants to bet me, it doesn't have to be that guy, right? It could just be anybody holding one of his cases that, that's a knockoff of ours. So you come into the booth and you say, I'll take your bet, right? And so you say, I've got $2,000 in cues in here, and we're going to make it like this, right? Just to keep you honest, all right? Just to keep everybody honest, we're going to do it like this. You have to bet half the value of the cues, and the cues have to be easily identifiable, as to the value. You can't go buy a $100 cue and tell me it's worth $2,000, okay? So that's not going to work. I mean, I'm not trying to make this bet here in order to get over on anyone, nor do I want anyone to get over on me. But it is my opinion that neither the importer of these knockoff cases, who's also a cue dealer, neither him nor anyone else on his behalf, with or without his knowledge, will subject their knockoff to the same type of testing and beating up or whatever I do to my case. They won't let me do it to their case. Regardless of what happens to the cues. So, in other words, they won't bet half the value of their cues that case will not break their cues when it's subjected to the same type of abuse and the same type of, and I said abuse because, I myself would never jump on a case, right? I mean, I would never abuse my case like that. I would never slam my case to the ground. I would never toss it end over end and abuse it and expect it, to protect my cues. However, that's the standard that I build to because I know that crap happens. So, I try to build it where it will protect the cue in those eventualities, especially just falling over and stuff. People don't realize how much the cue actually moves when it just simply falls over. You don't know how many oscillations the cue goes through. You don't know what the vibration frequency is and all that stuff. All those little things that can affect the small parts in a cue. You have your A joint, you have your joint at the, your, I don't even know what they call it anymore. So you have your A, B, C joint, right? Where the thread goes in, or maybe that's the A joint, I don't know. And you have your one right above the wrap. And those are tenon parts that are they're not that I mean, they're held together with glue. Sometimes they're screwed together. Most of the time they're not, and they're held together with glue. That's it. So a pull cue is not made to take a lot of stress this way. You know what I mean? It's made to take stress this way. In other words, you hit a ball with it and that's it. You're not bending it. You're not stressing it out any more than absolutely necessary, which is pretty much zero. You should be stressing it zero, sideways or with lateral pressure. And the fact of it is that a lot of these cases, especially the one I just named there, the ones I've seen, he has like padding at the top of the case. So if you're looking down into the case, you'll see some padding that looks good. You might look at it and go, oh yeah, that looks okay. I can live with that, right? But then down at the bottom, there's almost no padding, or some of the cases I've opened up, it's even missing 2 or 3 inches of material at all. So there's literally nothing between your cues. And then what you've got is you end up with making it worse because now you've got this going on, this type of oscillation, right? So if you had nothing in there, it would just kind of lay there. And then if you hit a bump, of course it would bounce a little bit, and it would bounce like that and then settle down. But now when you hit something, it bounces and it's like this because it's basically a clothespin effect. I mean, think about that for a second. Think about what that really means. That's like extra stress on the part of the cue that's down in that area, and the parts are hitting each other if the case is missing a couple inches. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not only that maker, but the reason that I single him out so much is because what he does to sell his customers cases is he just flat out lies to them. He tells them, my zippers are super strong and heavy duty and all this other stuff. That's all I got today.
All right.
Thanks. Anyway, he tells them, my zippers are super strong, heavy duty stress points. I mean, there's all kinds of little descriptions that he puts in there. And then he gives one away to every pro that he comes across pretty much. And anybody else too, that he thinks is an influencer, so to speak. And, basically with that type of lying, in my opinion, all right, in my opinion, some people might say it's fibbing, some people might say it's just good marketing. Some people might say, well, what is super strong anyway? But I think we all get the idea of what super strong entails. You can't easily break it, right? And on his stuff, when you can easily break it, to me, in my opinion, on the scale that I think of, which I think is pretty common, you can easily break most of the things that he claims are super strong. So, I mean, it's just flat out lying. It's okay that he copies me, okay? But for him, it's not enough that he copies me, right? It's not enough that he makes a case looks like our case. He realizes that in order to actually sell the cases, he has to exaggerate. He has to exaggerate the features of the case, which means that the benefits to you are also exaggerated. And that bothers me. That bothers me. It bothers me that there's people out there, people that I know, people that I even used to kind of like, it bothers me that these people are just so unashamedly, unabashedly willing to steal from their customers. Again, steal is the word I use in my opinion, because I consider it to be theft when you promise a certain level of quality and you don't deliver it, and you don't back it up. And I think that's lying, and I think that when you accept money based on those lies, then you have then committed theft, in my opinion. It may not be legally that way. It may be in any state, theft, fraud, however you want to put it. And you know what? The customer might just be happy with the case. Something might happen to his queue, and he might not even ever attribute it to the case at all. He might never even have the one tiny thought in his head that the case could have contributed to his queue being damaged. So yes, there's going to be a lot of customers out there who buy these cheap knockoffs based on these lying, grandiose promises that end up not really having any problem. Their queue may never actually even get damaged too. That's fine. There are people out there who treat their stuff great. When they go basically from the pool room to the car. So in that situation, the case itself, depending on how it's riding in the car and everything like that, and what kind of roads they're on, their ride might be real simple home, no potholes, no big, no ruts in the road or anything like that, no speed bumps. And so that case may just get a nice gentle ride all the way home, get a gentle ride to the pool room, actually never have any stress on it whatsoever. Well, in that case, yeah, the case is probably going to be adequate to prevent damage to the queues pretty much, and any damage to the queues that happens, scratches, stuff like that from the queues banging against each other just by walking, that's probably going to be attributed to just normally playing with them, stuff that just happens. You lean it against a wall or whatever. So it's very unlikely that type of customer is going to ever actually have a real problem with their queue that was caused by the case. So yeah, for that customer, that case is perfectly fine. So are most other cases, many of which are actually better cases than this knockoff. But so would all of those cases. All those cases would be fine. A soft case, just a simple $20 soft case would be perfectly fine for that type of customer. And I'm never going to say any different on that. But when a customer does buy that case, whether or not they ever have a problem, they bought the case with a certain expectation based on the things they were told. based on the advertisements that were made. And so even if the customer never realizes that he got stolen from, he was still stolen from, in my opinion. You know, keep in mind, this is all my opinion, okay? I'm not a lawyer, don't know the laws, um, and I believe this to be the truth, um, but it is my opinion, so, legally it might not be fraud. Um, Funnily enough, in this world, a person can steal a Coke from the convenience store and go to jail for 5 years, but another person can steal $1 million from someone else, and it's just considered a civil crime. So there's no criminal liability for that. Strangely enough, not in all cases, of course, but a lot of times they just call it a civil matter. You got to sue the other guy, and that's that. And then, as I found out this past summer, um, from my lawyer, and he said, look, in reality, a lot of times the law is not about the law. It's just about money. Who has more money? Who can last longer? Who's willing to go the distance and can afford to go the distance? So yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. So, it basically just opens the door for these guys that prey on ignorant people, especially in the billiard industry. I've been in this industry for 30 years now, and there's actually no barrier to entry in this industry. You don't have to be qualified for anything. You don't have to have any previous experience in the billiard industry, in any billiard related activity. You don't even have to be a pool player to get into this industry. All you got to do is have some money, buy some product, and say you're in the business, and you're in the business. That's it. And as ridiculous as it sounds, a lot of people get into this business, with hopes and dreams, and they have they're relying on these outdated, silly statistics where it says 30 million people play pool in America every year, and then they get in there and they're like, well, if I just sell to 1% of those people, just 1%, that's it. I'll be rich. 300,000 people. How hard can that be? But they don't dig deeper. They don't understand that those statistics pertain to people that say, out of the surveyed people who say that they played pool at least once a year, once in the past year. So that could be at a bar, just pop some quarters in, play with a friend. That could be over at a buddy's house and just hit some balls at a Christmas party or something like that. They don't break it down further and find out how many people play league, how many times a week do they play, what is their average value of their equipment worth. Now, Pool and Billiard Magazine does that. They have a survey every year that does a lot of that. But they're not nearly as big as the Sporting Goods Marketing Association, where that 30 million number comes from. So the point that I'm making is there's a lot of people who get into this industry who are just unqualified because their dreams are bigger than the industry can actually support. And they don't know that until they've spent a good chunk of their savings or whatever they borrowed or whatever to get in. A lot of times they'll even come from other industries where they had qualifications. They were engineers, or they were marketers, or they were whatever. They were actually well qualified, well experienced professionals in their industry. Then they get into the billiard industry and they're like, what a freaking cesspool this is. Like, so many people in this business they just don't know how to do real good business. That's it. And I include myself in that. I got into this when I was 21 years old. I was doing stuff in the billiard industry, so to speak, before that too. But so the point is I was officially in as a case maker, getting my feet wet in the billiard industry, selling cases, going to trade shows and stuff like that. So I was in the industry at 21 years old. And I don't know shit about doing business, There's still a lot I don't know about doing business. I'm not a businessman. I'm not trying to be a businessman. I'm trying to be a pool cue case maker who builds cases in a shop full of workers, a small workshop where I basically get to direct, I get to experiment, I get to direct, I get to make videos like this, just, saying whatever I want to say. That's who I want to be, and that's kind of who I am in this industry. But what I am not is one of those people who's out to steal from you. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that see the billiard industry as their license to steal. And that's, down to the scammers who get on there and pick out whatever the cue flavor of the day is, and then they run a raffle for a cue that they don't have or exists, or they sell cues to people that they don't have, using other people's pictures, or just vaporware people, basically. There's those people, and then there's the industry people who know full well they can import containers of junk, hype it to the moon, and sell it to you guys like it's gold, when it's really just fool's gold. And then there's industry people who are good people. They try to build good products, they try to import good products, they stand behind the products that they make. And the fact of that is that that those people are also hurt by the scammers and the stealers and the liars. And and in this industry, because there's so many people who are ignorant of the industry, and people who are naive as well about the industry, who, professionals in other fields who expect this industry to be professional as well, and it's not. So there's people who are naive about the industry. What was my point there that I was making? Oh yeah, because I said that the good people in the industry, the ones that are trying to bring in good products and build the brands and, give good service and everything, they're crowded out too by the scammers and the stealers and the liars and thieves. But because the consumer base in this industry, because the consumer base in this industry is ignorant and naive to a large degree. Good people, a lot of them are good people. And because there's a certain amount of just scammers in this industry. There are people that come from the hustling culture of pool, and they actually don't even see anything wrong with scamming people. A lot of them are sociopathic like that. Because of that, they give cover. A lot of these people give cover to the industry insider people who are also themselves liars and scammers and thievers, and they start to actually get a halfway decent reputation, which is just, and that is also because of the fact that this industry is so diverse. It's small, it's fractured quite a bit, it's diverse, the information flow is pitiful. Half the stuff you see on the internet, is just rumor and speculation. A lot of it is misinformation that's been deliberately put out there sometimes by these scammers and these people. That just, people can say and do a lot of things in this industry without ever having to actually prove what they said. They're not held accountable for the things that they say and the things that they do. Not in a professional way, and they're just allowed to go about their business, and then a little bit later everybody forgets about whatever that was, because half the people in the room are saying, oh no, so and so could never do that, never ever ever ever, he's such a good dude, he sponsors this tournament and that tournament and whatever, he's good for pool. And then the other half of the people in the room are like, you know what, so what if he sponsors those tournaments? He's still a douchebag and he's still a lying thief. And basically the end result of all that is that the lying thief gets to continue being a lying thief, and the people who called him out realize that there's no point in doing that. It's frustrating, and the other people who are either clueless or lying thieves themselves, they think they won a victory now they think, well, I'm not going to get taken by the lying thief because I know who he is, but I'm sure as hell going to support him, because I don't want people coming after me next. And again, that's just speculation in my opinion, but I think I think it's in the back of people's minds sometimes. Of course, I don't think there's any secret cabal that meets and plots all this shit. It's just a bunch of liars and thieves and amateurs, that are looking out for each other on an instinctual survival level that they're not even really aware of. Again, that's just my opinion and comes from nowhere, just thoughts flowing in my head. But this Halloween, this whole summer, it's my first time to really kind of sit down and talk to the camera straight on. When I think about this past summer and how it all started and how I was like super happy to play in the U.S. Open, the United States Open, the largest, the most important tournament in North America. I played in a qualifier and I won a spot, and I would never buy a spot. I'm sorry, I'm not good enough, and I'm not enough of a pool fan to spend $1,000 on a spot just to play a couple sets with alongside the pros, maybe play one or two. I'm not that much of a super fan, sorry. But anyway, I was happy that I won a spot in the U.S. Open. Happy to go there and play. I figured, well, since I'm going to be there, I might as well see if I can set up a booth. And so, yeah, they let us set up a booth. That all happened very quickly. And then everything just went downhill with this this knockoff case maker. This guy, he's not even a case maker. I called him a case maker. He's not. He's an importer of cases. He likes to lie to people and tell people that he designed this or he designed that, or he even, I've even heard it in the rumors that he tells people that he actually designed the JB Rugged case. So it was actually his design, and then I brought it out, and he designed it. Not only was it his design, but he designed it something like 13 years before he finally brought it out, right? So it was actually, it was 2011 when I brought them out. So in his mind, he designed it. This is just a rumor I've heard, okay? So, I keep in mind the guy's never said this directly to me, and it could even be not true. I don't know. But if it is true, then it's ridiculous. So anyway, the rumor goes that that he designed these cases in 2003. So 2003, he designed what we know now today as the Rugged case, what looks like the Rugged case. And I, in 2003, had actually taken a break. This isn't from him, this is from me. I'm just interjecting my, timeline here. I had taken a break from case making. I had sold the In-Stroke name, and I had quit making cases and having anything to do with cases, except for repairing them. And that lasted until 2007. And 2007, I started, dabbling in making cases again. I cleared out my living room. My girlfriend's mom, who is a seamstress, she helped me, to work the sewing machines. And a couple weeks after that, I hired a leather worker, and we were putting together good leather cases and doing some good stuff. And 2008, was when I kind of just went full bore in on it and made JB cases. So I had taken a break, for 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And so in this time, right, so this guy designs the cases. He's got connections to China. He can get cases made and so on, right? I should mention, too, that I sold him a container of cheap cases like in 2002, 2003, maybe early 2003. But anyway, now that aside, so I knew him, I've known him, since like the late 90s, or since the early 2000s, so 2001, 2000, right around there. But anyway, so between this whole time, right, so from the time I'm gone, 2003, all the way through 2008, and then in 2011 is when I introduced the Rugged case. But this whole time up to 2011, he's not done anything with this design, right? He says the rumor is that he claims he designed it, but I guess he just sat on it, just decided to sit on it for more than a decade, right? So then in 2011, I bring it out, and I'm selling them directly from my shop in China, direct to customers. Shipping is $80 or $85. It's a ridiculous amount of shipping, but I was selling the cases for $100 right out the door. So it was 185, 2 pockets, so on. No top handle and so on. Anyway, then we introduced the Ultimate Rugged. We put a top handle on it and a 3rd pocket. So we have 2 different models. Then later on, we make the pockets bigger on the 2-pocket version and call it Dynamite and so on. So we have, 3-4 different models, plus all the custom cases we're doing with these. We're doing pockets in any shape, form, whatever anybody can imagine. We're doing it for them. So this goes all the way until, 2017, I think. And he comes out with these knockoffs. Or I should say he comes out with this design that he claims he made in 2000. He actually designed it in 2003. That's actually this rumor came from one of his acolytes who said that. One of these guys who claims to be a pro, but he's like so far below pro speed, it's ridiculous. But anyway, but this guy came out and goes, well, so he's the OG of case design, and he designed this case back in 2003 and so on. So if I remember right, I'm pretty sure I remember that right, but just keep in mind that this is the rumor going around. He's the main one I heard it from, but I heard it from someone else as well. That the knockoff case dude is claiming to actually be the originator of this design. But my point is where's the evidence of it? And even so, even if it were true, which it's not, I want to be clear about that. In my opinion, it is absolutely not true. This whole thing started this summer when I was at the U.S. Open, and this dude claimed, he goes, well, he's tired of me making these claims that he's copying me, right? So I guess this pertains to this rumor. He makes a bet. He makes a public challenge where he wants to bet me $20,000, and we'll take a lie detector test and see who's copied whom. Or I think he said who copied who. So I guess what he's saying there is that he's willing to bet that he can pass a lie detector test saying he didn't copy me. And I suppose that the lie detector test is going, or he thought the lie detector test was going to show that not only did he not copy me, but I copied him. But we never got that far because I agreed to the bet. I upped it to $50,000. I went and got the money as requested. Turns out he didn't even get the money as requested. He got the money a check written to his name, so I couldn't cash it anyway. And it was a cashier's check, so it couldn't just be signed over like a regular personal check. So, a cashier's check has to be made out to the party that's supposed to be cashing it. You can't just sign a name on the back and turn it over to anybody else. So, anyway, so yeah, it turns out he didn't even do that part of it, with this bet. So we end up going to a lawyer. We get into a verbal fight about this because we end up going to a lawyer that's not even an attorney that can handle that does this type of law. I still don't really know what type of law it is anyway, but he ends up taking me to an immigration attorney, right? And the attorney wasn't even there. He didn't bother to make an appointment or call them up beforehand or anything. I told him, I said, we'll go to whatever attorney you want. And he had, like an hour and a half or so to make this decision to find an attorney. And while I was playing my match in the U.S. Open. And we end up going to an immigration attorney, and the attorney's not even there anyway. So when we got back down from the attorney's office, I told him, I was like, dude, you don't have a clue what you're doing. We can't just be walking into attorney's offices cold with no appointment. You think they have time for us for this? And even if they do, what are we going to do? Sit down and just say we want to make a bet or whatever? I mean, you're going to pay these guys $200 an hour. And I said we are going to pay these guys $200 an hour to sit there and listen to us try to figure out what it is we're betting on. I said, why don't we go to a restaurant? We'll turn on the camera. We'll turn on the Facebook Live so everybody can see us, and we'll hash it out as to what exactly we're betting on. then we'll go to an attorney and we'll draw up the contract to do it. And, dude goes off on me. He's like, I'm not going anywhere with you. You twist everything, and your word doesn't mean anything, whatever. So I'm like, why are we even here then if my word doesn't mean anything? But what I told him was, I said, okay, you know what? Then let's do this. Let's go to arbitration. You present your evidence. I'll present my evidence. Well, once we figure out what it is we're even betting, then you present your evidence and I'll present my evidence. We let the arbiter decide, and whatever he decides, that's who wins. 50 grand. And he agrees to that. He's not standing right there with me, but he agrees to that. And he stands there, and I put out my hand, and he won't shake my hand. And he starts going off again about my word doesn't mean anything, and he's not going anywhere, he's not going to do this. And I'm like, dude, you just agreed to it. I was just putting out my hand to shake it. And he comes up and he gets in my face, daring me to hit him and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to hit you. I want to settle this like the bet that you made. You want to settle it in court, or you want to settle it in front of a lawyer or in front of a lie detector? That's fine. Let's do that. But let's figure out first what it is that we're betting. Because we can't. There's no possible way that this is going to be productive. Marching around town, barging into lawyers' offices, asking them to work for us like that. It's just not going to happen. So I told him, I said, you know what? If you don't want to do this, you don't want to bet, you don't want to do what you said, I'm leaving. And he comes back and he gets right up in my face, daring me to hit him again. And I said, I don't want to hit you, And he looks behind me and sees some people standing there, and he goes, you hit me. And I was like, what? What do you mean that I hit you? You're out of your, and I'm going to cuss here, so sorry. I said, you're out of your fucking mind. Anyway, he steps around me. Keep in mind, he's not been hit. Nothing's happened to him whatsoever, physically, nothing. He steps around me and starts walking towards these people going, you saw that, right? You saw that he hit me, right? You're going to be my witness? And I turned around and I'm following him, and it's also on the way to my car, and I'm like, dude, you're out of your freaking mind, And I told the people standing there, I go, he's rich, make sure he pays you a lot of money. Because I was pissed off too. I'm pissy at that point. This guy's taking my time away. He's taking my enjoyment away from being at the U.S. Open. You know what I mean? He's taking me away from my customers and my employees. Taking me away from the venue. And it gets even worse too. You want to hear this spooky story? So this is where all this comes from for the whole summer, right? This was the beginning of it. But yeah, I'm pissed off, so I say, you know what? I'm leaving. I go get the truck. I come by, I pick up my friend. My friend Don was standing there with me, also who works for me, and he stopped right there to see what was being said to those people, because he was actually concerned for me, and part of the reason why I had him come along was to have a witness, not because I thought that this guy was going to actually do what he ends up doing, but just because I just wanted to have somebody there, to with me. So maybe it was good foresight to do that. But anyway, so yeah, the dude, I told him, I drove up, I got Don, I rolled down the window, I yelled it to him again. I said, I'm going back to the show. If you figure out what you want to do, you come see me there. And then I left, and then Don and I went and we got hamburgers for everybody, and then took them to the show and had our food. Well, come to find out, like a freaking hour and a half later, here comes the security, and they want to take me, and they want me to go with them, and I end up getting kicked out of the venue because dipshit, my opinion again, files a false police report claiming that I headbutted him. And this starts like 3 months of just endless anxiety, and I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I said there's no barrier to entry, there's no professionalism in the billiard industry, because here you got a guy that's willing to lie to the police, and this time this is not my opinion. This was a straight up lie to the police. He's willing to lie to the police to harm a competitor. He's willing to harm me, to try to harm me physically and financially, physically by having the police take me into custody. That's his ultimate aim, and deprive me of my freedom. And financially, of course, he's trying to harm me by getting me kicked out of the show, getting me barred from other shows based off of this lie. And so, that shows you the kind of low level of people that we're really dealing with here in this industry. And the people, a guy like that, there's as someone I really trust said to me, if a person like that is willing to lie like that, there's actually nothing that he's unwilling to do. There's no depth of deception that he's unwilling to go to harm you, or to harm somebody that he deems, his enemy, so to speak. So he didn't like it that I just constantly harped on the fact that the things that he was saying about his cases, his knockoffs that he, is rumored to have claimed to have designed, 13 years or in our case, 13 years before he brought them out, but in our case, it's 8 years, before we brought them out. So he claims that he designed them 8 years before we ever brought them out, and another 13, 14 years. What was it, 2011, 2017? So actually longer than that, 14 years. Yeah, so 14 years after he first conceived of these cases, he finally brings them out. After, of course, that we've had 6-7 years of success with this model, right? After all that, that's when he finally brings them out, right? So anyway, he's tired of me claiming that he's copying me, which would be, true at this point. He's tired of me claiming that actually he didn't, what the funny part is? He didn't even bring up anything about quality. So he's actually didn't say, I'm tired of John Barton saying that my cases are shit. That's not what he said in his initial challenge to me. That's not what he said at all. He also lied about what I said about other people, which is also, a complete lie. He claimed that I was bullying people online, and I had never said a word online to either of those people. I'd never even mentioned their names to anyone else. So, that's a complete nonsense nut job lie right there. But of course, like a lot of things, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has its time to put its pants on. And so, a guy like that, he's been in the industry for a long time and he's got quite a following. So, of course, anything he says about me or anyone he perceives to be an enemy is going to be, believed by a lot of his fans, so to speak. So, that was one of the other things in his initial post, is he lied about my conduct online. And of course, the judges, sometimes will, well, that's just opinion, so they don't consider that to be a lie. But the fact of this matter is that when he claimed that I bullied these people, I don't know how that he figures I bullied them when I never even spoke to either one of them prior to this post. And I never ever mentioned their name in connection with anything to do with what prompted his post. I didn't mention their names at all, and so I don't know how I could maybe telepathically I bullied them or something like that. I don't know. But the fact is that I didn't bully them. And he just straight up lied about it. He's getting his panties in a bunch, on behalf of people that weren't even affected, And really what started all that even was me commenting on some cases that I saw online where I actually cut out the people out of it and I was just showing the case, and I said, I don't think it's a good idea to put a lot of money into decorating a poor platform, so a crappy case. If the case is $100 or 95 or 92 or whatever they sell them for, I don't see the point of putting another $100 or more into decorating that case, because when the case breaks, there goes the decoration money too. And what I said was, in contrast, in JB cases, if we decorate the case for you and you spend a lot of money on that decoration and the case breaks, then we're going to replace all the decoration too that we did. So everything that we did to the case, we're going to definitely replace all that for you. And this sets him off like a, like a nutcase, man. I'm like, what's the problem? Did I say something that wasn't true? I mean, for one thing, it's my opinion anyway. That one I was for sure said it's my opinion. But I mean, the truth of it is, if you had a crappy Ford Pinto or something like that, would you put a $2,000 paint job on it? Or something like that? I mean, would you put, $3,000 rims on your otherwise crappy Ford Pinto? Now, I know there's guys out there that'll take that Pinto and they'll change everything on it. They'll put $25,000 into this car. And they may not ever be able to actually get $25,000 out of this car, because at the end of the day, it's still a Pinto. It's still, even though it's a hyper customized one, it's still a Pinto. So I know that. I know there's people like that. So that's not who I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about somebody wouldn't go out and they wouldn't buy like a used car, for $1,000 and then turn around and put $5,000 wheels on it, or even $1,000 wheels. They probably wouldn't do that, Most people wouldn't. All right, there's people out there who do that, of course, but most people would never do that. Most people would consider that to be a bad investment. And that was what started this whole thing, was that simple opinion that if you highly decorate, or you spend a lot of money to have a shitty case highly decorated and that case fails, the underlying case fails, all your decoration money's gone. And with us, with JV Cases, if you direct us to decorate that case and it costs a lot of money and then the underlying case fails, not only do we replace the case, we replace all of that decoration. And I think that's a perfectly fair thing to say. And if any other company feels offended, by the way, if any other company feels offended by that, then they're more than welcome to clarify what their stance on this is. Right? If they want to match our warranty, go for it. Great. That's better for the consumer. Because we already know that we provide a great value for the consumer. So anything that they do that provides a good value for the consumer is great. Great for the consumer. I'm happy with that. But I know full well that they're not going to do that, right? They're not going to do that. They're not going to eat those losses. And they know full well that their product isn't great and that it's likely to fail. And that's why you don't even get a year guarantee. I think there's only one of them that gives any sort of a warranty. And at first, I think it was 90 days, and then they later stretched it to 180 days or something like that. That's their claims. Also, I was being beat up on that by the same guy by saying, he says, well, look, you defamed me. He goes, my warranty is 180 days and not 90 days. And I'm like, so what? So I made a mistake on that. So you warranty it for another 3 months. Big deal. Last time I checked, 3 months or 6 months is both a long way away from lifetime. So it doesn't matter, It doesn't matter. That's not defamation to you, And plus it opens the door for you to go in and clarify and say, we don't give a 90-day warranty. We give a 180-day warranty. If you think that that'll help you, go clarify it. And I'll admit to the mistake. I didn't check it and see. I did check, by the way, his website. At that time, there was nowhere on there that mentioned whether they have a 90-day or a 180-day warranty. So they have a section on there about if you need a warranty, you have to do X, Y, Z and jump through all these hoops and have the right receipt and, whatever it is. So they have a part of it about what to do if you want to make a warranty claim. But they never tell you what the warranty actually entails, how long it is, for what products it is, or so on, right? Not that I saw then. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I did, and if someone shows me the proof that back then, during that time frame, all this information was there and available to the consumer, I'll be happy to say that I was wrong about that and I missed it. But the fact of it is that there really wasn't anything there that I found that said anything about their warranty one way or the other, whether it was 90 or 180 days. So, these are the kind of things that I was getting attacked for, and as if that was, a big deal, right? Like, I'm trying to explain the difference between a shitty case that's not worth decorating and a case that I give you a lifetime warranty because I don't think that you'll need it. Therefore, you can decorate to your heart's content on there knowing that you're safe for the entire life of use of that case. The entire life of the use of that case. That's if that case goes through 27 hands and the 27th guy looks at it and says, I don't think that handle should be broken. Let me see if their warranty is any good. And he calls us up and he says, hey, I got a JB case in my hand and it has a broken handle. Is that under warranty? And I'll go, yes. Go to the website, fill out a repair form. In this case, you'll need to send it in, and we'll build a new one from there. And we'll even put on all the original decoration that was on it. If that case went through 27 people and this guy's name is Bill and the original guy it was made for, his name is Steve, then we're going to put Steve back on it. We're going to replace that case exactly as it is, unless we come to some other accommodation with the person who has that case then. Once in a while we come to a deal, we come to, some sort of where that person would rather get some sort of a credit against a new case rather than have that case duplicated exactly. But the point is that the case is warranted, not the person, not the receipt. The case itself, the product that was made, is what's warranted. So I don't think that any of these knockoff guys are going to match that. I don't think they can look at that and financially justify it to themselves to match it. I just don't see it. Because I know how these cases are built. I've taken them all apart. I buy them. I look at them. I see how they're made. A lot of them, because they're knockoffs and they're copies, are not in any way better than ours. Nobody's gone through it and looked and seen anything that they thought they could do better and actually did better. They are, in many ways, not only are they worse than ours now, but a lot of times they've repeated whatever mistake we made 5 years ago or 4 years ago or whenever they got the case to the first one to copy. They just, if they tried to do the same step we did, they ended up doing it worse than we did it back then, not even understanding why we did it in the first place. And we already knew that it was too weak. So they try to save money. They try to make it look the same as we did, but they inadvertently, they make it weaker. So now that mistake that we made, which we had already corrected 4 years ago, or whenever it was, and we had already made it stronger, and since then it might have even gone through a few more iterations and be even stronger now today than it was back then. Even had they done it exactly as we did it, they'd still have a problem. But often they don't. And that's the thing with this, man, is that these guys don't care. They don't care about that. So how are they going to give you a lifetime warranty? How are they going to do that when they've got cases flying back at them every year, year after year after year? Cases just keep coming back because things keep breaking and they don't even know why they're breaking. That's what it really comes down to. We don't want any people to be out of their case. I've got 3 or 4, 5, 6 cases here that are due for repair. And throughout the year, we probably get maybe 5 a month, so maybe we get 60 cases a year as returns. And a lot of these cases are really old. They're cases where we made these mistakes years ago. And I wouldn't even have called them mistakes then. I just would say that I didn't build it as strong then as I do now. So now when it's even stronger, whatever it was that tore it up back then is not going to tear it up now. But anyway, there are older cases that we get back where, the things that we've already known about are starting to fail. and we simply replace the case with a new case. Customer's happy, everybody's happy, and that we know for sure that that customer will never have that problem again. And we also don't get cases back with that same problem from the newer ones that we make. So do you guys think that these knockoff guys are gonna invest all that time and effort? Do you think they can easily pick up the phone and say, hey, I got a case back, this is a problem I've never seen before, this is how I want you to fix it? Because they actually went into their, I got a sewing machine right here, they actually went in and sewed it and figured up the solution, and then they give it to the factory and say, this is exactly how I want you to do it. Do you think that they easily do that? No, they don't. They don't. These guys are not case makers. They're not innovators. You know, they don't know anything about quality. They don't know what makes good quality. They don't know what makes bad quality. All they care about is bringing it in through the back door, moving it out through the front door as quickly as possible. And frankly, they really don't want to ever see you again, you know, unless you're there to buy something else. So they're going to hope, you know, that whatever they bought, whatever they sold you was cheap enough that you don't care if it breaks, you know, or good enough not to break until the next time they see you. And that's it, really. I don't know how many times I've said this, you know, that's it, really. But the fact of it is, I got to go. It's Halloween, but is it dark yet? Yeah, I got to go. All right. Anyway, the fact of it is, guys, is that, you know, I'm sorry to tell you this and break it to you, but, you know, the fact of it is that in the billiard industry, people just say anything they want to say, you know? And because of the lack of real communication channels and, you know, real information, there's no consumer reports in the billiard industry. Because of all that, there's going to be very little accountability in this industry, you know? People aren't getting fired for screwing up. They're not getting lambasted publicly for screwing up. You know, this happens in the scammer world. You know, on some of our forums, you know, they get lambasted if they scam, but none of these big industry companies really get it that much. They get away with it, is what they do. They can just say anything they want to say. They can spout any statistic they want to spout. They can say anything, including me. I can say that too. But the difference is that I'm the one that's willing to stand here and say to you, every single day, you can come in my shop and you can challenge me on anything that I have said. On anything. Anything I say about our cases, you can challenge me. We can pull one off the wall and try to beat it up in exactly the way that I say it should hold up, and we'll see. We can do it all live and on film, and if it doesn't hold up, we'll pick up another one and we'll try that one. And if it doesn't hold up, we'll pick up another one and try that. The thing is, if we identify a problem, as soon as you leave, I'm going to be on the phone fixing that problem. I'm going to be on the sewing machine fixing that problem, you know? And in a few days after that, the problem will be solved. The next cases will be stronger. But guess what? Most of the time, and I'm just going to say 99.99% of the time, a guy's going to come here. He's going to pull off the wall, and he's not going to be able to break the case. It's going to hold up exactly like I said it would, because I know that it has to. I know what I build. I know exactly how strong they are. And I know where we're at. So that's what I'm talking about. A guy can walk in here with a knockoff case if he wants to. We can go through the same thing. You know, it's exactly the bet I was laying out earlier, is if anybody wants to bring a knockoff case and challenge me, you know, if they want to challenge me on behalf of the knockoff maker, that's fine with me too. Do it live. I'm okay with that, because in this industry, I am one of those who really knows what he builds. I know what I've got. I know what the competition builds. And I'm perfectly fine with anybody coming into the shop, coming into the booth, challenging me on anything that I have said. Anything. Bring it on. Because if I've said anything that's false, then I definitely want to know about that. I want to be corrected so that I don't say that again. But if I say things that are right, I want people to know that as well. I want them to really know it. I don't want them to just believe me because I said it. Because that's the whole problem with this industry, is anybody can just say anything. That's what this other knockoff maker does. You'll notice I don't mention the other knockoffs a lot, because they don't go out there making claims. You know, they're copying us. They're looking like us. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said I was happy about it. I'm not happy about it. When people knock us off, when I spend a lot of time developing the look of something and developing the feel and the way that it works and everything about it, I'm not happy when people knock us off just for the looks. And honestly, I wouldn't be happy if they knocked us off in every aspect of it. I mean, that's certainly possible for them to do. They could build a case as strong as we build it, as as well as we build it. I mean, they're technically able to do that. But excuse me. But they don't want to. They don't want to do what we do. There's a lot of aspects of our case that are hand sewn. We don't make a big deal of that, but there's a lot of parts on our case which the only real good way to do it is with a double needle and sitting there by hand putting it together. And they don't want to pay for that. They don't want to pay people to sit there for an hour sewing up one part of the case. They don't want to raise the price of the case by $5 or $10 or whatever. So no, they're not going to do that. But if they did, no, I wouldn't. I'd be happy for the consumers. I'd be happy for the billiard world in general. If somebody built a case that was just as good as ours or as strong as ours, and I'm talking about these manufacturers, not these little one-off guys. Not like Rusty Melton and these guys. They build the cases in a completely different way than we do, so I don't even bother to make comparisons with them, right?